Rubicon crossing moment for the United States of America. A sitting senator, California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla, was treated in a manner you don't see every day in the United States of America or in any democracy for that matter. Today, he was forcibly removed from a press conference that was being held by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. The sitting senator was then handcuffed and his body was placed on the ground. The video released by Senator Padilla's office shows what I just described.
Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands up.
How many of our ICE agents have been docked?
On the ground. On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go ahead, put behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here.
There's a disinformation campaign underway on Fox News where Kristi Noem did an interview in the 3 o'clock hour and said he didn't identify himself. I'm going to ask the control room to rewind that and play it again. While they're doing that, let me just state this. He said, oh, here it is. Watch for yourself.
Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands up.
How many of our ICE agents have been docked?
On the ground. On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go ahead, put behind my back.
All right. Cool.
One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here.
There's no recording allowed in here. I wonder why. Again, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, went on Fox News at 3 p.m. and told this lie. Quote, he didn't ID himself. Padilla did, so there's that. But he also tried to say before he was manhandled that he was there with questions for the secretary at her press conference. Here's how he described it after a few moments ago.
Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries. And so I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country. We will hold this administration accountable.
If this is how they treat a senator with a question, imagine what they're doing to others? That's the question for all of us right now, today. California's Governor Gavin Newsom posted this, quote, Senator Alex Padilla is one of the most decent people I know. This is outrageous, dictatorial, and shameful. Trump and his shock troops are out of control. This must end now. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, who held the same Senate seat as Senator Padilla, tweeted this, quote, United States Senator Alex Padilla was representing the millions of Californians who are demanding answers to this administration's actions in Southern California. This is a shameful and stunning abuse of power. It's where we start today with my colleague, NBC's Jacob Soboroff. He's in Los Angeles, where Senator Padilla was just speaking. Also joining me, MSNBC political analyst, host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller's here. Also joining us, the publisher of the Bulwark and host of the Focus Group podcast, Sarah Longwell is here. And here at the table for the hour, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Obama, MSNBC contributor Ben Rhodes is here. Ben, I start with you because I don't want these words that I started with to get old, because they mean the same thing, even though we've had to say it twice this week. It's a Rubicon crossing moment to forcibly remove a sitting United States senator from a press conference, as he said, quote, with a question. It was also a Rubicon crossing moment in this hour yesterday when the National Guard detained, carried out seeming law enforcement functions on the streets of Los Angeles. But this is where we are.
Yeah, and that's difficult to watch. I mean, I think what I'd say, Nicolle, is that the authoritarianism is the point. That's what's happening. We are at that moment. We are only 5 months into this administration, and they already have the United States military in the streets of a major city for no reason whatsoever, serving Donald Trump's personal policy and political interests over the objections of state and local officials, including the officials who are supposed to have the authority over that. They're already demonstrating that they have no accountability for what they're doing. They won't even answer questions from a United States Senator, and when those questions are asked, he is treated in the manner that we just saw. They're trying to convey that nobody can challenge their authority, that nobody even has a right to know why these troops are in the streets, how long they're going to be there. What I worry about is maybe those troops don't come home, Nicolle. Maybe it's just normalized. They want to make people get used to the fact that ICE can pick up anybody that they want, wherever they want, whoever they are, whether they've committed a crime or not, whether they're a U.S. person or not. You're not allowed to ask questions about it. If you get asked questions about it, you're going to get thrown to the ground and handcuffed, even if you're a United States senator. We are here 5 months into this administration. Where is this going? And what I'm worried about is they're normalizing this behavior in the United States of America. I've been on the show with you to talk about other authoritarian leaders. I've been on the show to talk about, say, Viktor Orban, who we hold up as a kind of model of an illiberal leader. He's never done anything like this. This is so far beyond what we've seen in other authoritarian countries. So this is not a question of whether we're democratic backsliding. We're way beyond that. We've backslid. We're now more authoritarian in our government than most of the countries that we talk about when we talk about dictatorial regimes in this world. That's where we are now in month 5.
So where are we heading?
I think we're headed to a place where what is going to happen this weekend, where there's popular mobilization and there's troops in the streets and there's a president of the United States who's going to watch tanks and helicopters go by him, that's where we're going to be. This is, you know, the Rubicon's been crossed, the lines have been drawn, and because of the complete abdication of responsibility from the Republican Party in this country, how does John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, how does he feel about one of his colleagues being thrown to the ground and handcuffed? We've heard nothing from them. So it's up to the people on the streets. And that's where we're going to be. We're just going to be in a place, a very difficult place, and it's hard for people to hear. But I'm glad that people are mobilizing, because this is not something that we've ever seen before in the history of this country. And this is just where we're going to be until either some people get some backbone who actually have power to stand up to Trump, the courts, the Senate Republicans, or we're just going to be here until we can get to another election. If there's not a military national emergency declared to prevent that election from happening. I think we have to start talking about these things.
I want to do one more thing before I bring Jacob into this. It's not often that you get to see the propaganda forming in real time. And the video was available before Kristi Noem's 3 p.m. Interview on Fox News was announced or notified with a little box to promote it. And the video shows Senator Alex Padilla saying, quote, "I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I'm Senator Alex Padilla." I don't know who interviewed Kristi Noem, but Kristi Noem tells this lie, quote, "He didn't identify himself." The lie isn't corrected, so now millions of people, that network has a huge audience, heard that lie. What is the role of propaganda and unchecked, uncorrected lies in the media in an autocratic lunge?
I think if you want to look at an example, it's Russia, right? And in Russia, what you have, if you watch television, all you see is an alternative reality that is not reality. It is a reality that the regime wants you to think is reality. That is what Fox News is. It is no different than the state media that we see in places like Russia. I'm from Los Angeles. I just got here yesterday. There's no burning of LA to the ground. They've created a complete fiction on television, running in a loop the same 4 or 5 images of the same burning car, right? They're going to kind of force down the throats of the people that watch and consume their media or their social media a complete false reality. And it makes it incumbent on us to do whatever we can in our personal communications with our neighbors, as well as the platforms that we have to communicate a reality. I just want to say one other thing, Nicolle. There's a racialized component to this. Alex Padilla is brown, right? And let's just name this too. Like, they're going to kind of otherize him in the same way that they're trying to otherize the kind of people that are being rolled up in a lot of these raids, including people who've committed no crimes, including people who may be here illegally. That's where they're starting, but it's not where they're going to end. The end goal is there not to be dissent in this country. And that's to end where I started, that's the purpose of that kind of alternative state media reality, to ensure that there's no dissent, there's only our version of reality.